Chapel Hill and Cover where I live. I've had the pleasure lately of seeing and watching a number of bluebirds come flying in and landing on my little outside open air deck. And their presence reminds me of a song put together years ago by a woman named Jean Ritchie out of Kentucky, a very fine singer of folk songs. And she saw some bluebirds one day landing in an apple tree. She wrote a little song about it. When I was a young thing once on a day, dreaming under my apple tree, a great flock of bluebirds sailing through the sky spied my tree as they passed by. And oh, it was a wonderful sight to see when they settled down to rest in my apple tree. Count them, said my mother. How, said I? Out of the window came this reply. One, you'll have sorrow. Two, you'll have joy. Three, get a present. Four, get a boy. 5, receive silver. 6, receive gold. 7's a secret that's never been told. 8, a love letter with promises 3. 9 means your true love, as true as can be. Only once in a lifetime, the old folks say, the vision of the bluebird will come your way. But only if you're dreaming, only if you're still, only in an apple tree on a green hill. So stop all your hurrying and worrying away, and take time for dreaming on a sunny day. Wait for the bluebirds when they come along, tell your fortune in the bluebird song. 1, you'll have sorrow. 2, you'll have joy. 3, get a present. 4, get a boy. 5, receive silver. 6, receive gold. 7's a secret that's never been told. 8, a love letter with promises 3. 9 means your true love, as true as can be.
Okay. These are the words of Walt Whitman. No, they're not. They're the words of Henry David Thoreau. I've been thinking about both, and I confused them. But this is very short. I'm going to read it twice because I think it's very meaningful. And these are, again, Henry David Thoreau's words. Men talk about Bible miracles because there is no miracle in their lives. Cease to gnaw at that crust. There is ripe fruit over your head. Again, men talk about Bible miracles because there is no miracle in their lives. Cease to gnaw that crust. There is ripe fruit over your head.
Thank you, Bob. John, do you have an introduction, or should I? Okay. It's my pleasure to welcome Ina Evans to the lectern today. And Ina is our founding member who is still with the organization, and it's great to have her, and we're pleased of her continued participation over the I think 27 years that the organization has been around, although we've been incorporated, I understand, for 25. So we're going to try to struggle with the microphone again. but it may just turn into that thundering monster that you've heard. So we'll see what we can do, but please join me in welcoming Inez.
New Yorkers. First found out about ethical culture through WQXR, which was the classical music station in New York City. And every Sunday at 11 o'clock, they broadcast the platform from the New York Ethical Culture Society. And those were the days when there were charismatic leaders like Algernon Black and Jerome Nathanson, and their talks were inspiring, provocative, thought-provoking, and the organ music was awesome. When we moved to the suburbs, we joined the Inner City Society, and our children went to the Sunday school there. And in 1964, we moved back to the city and transferred our membership to the New York Society, and our children went to, excuse me, and the children went to the Sunday school there. It was an exciting time to be in the society and to be in New York. Well, in 1980, my husband and I took an early retirement, and we moved to a home we had built in the Virgin Islands. And then in 1985, we came to Chapel Hill, and that's where we met my dear friend Miriam. And I was struck by the bumper stickers that I saw. They all seemed to address ethical issues. And I remember saying to my husband, this would be a good place to start an ethical society. And he said, why don't you? And I gave him one of those quizzical, are you crazy looks. Well, each time we were driving and saw an ethical bumper sticker, Jerry was sure to point it out to me. And almost at the same time, I took a course in religion at Dillard, the Duke Institute for Learning and Retirement, which is now called Ollie. And it was given by a former minister by the name of John DuBois. And one day after class, I went up to him and asked if he knew anything about ethical culture. And he said he did, and he asked me why the question, and I told him what my thoughts were. And he said, well, as a matter of fact, I know a couple, Gerard and Mary Ellen Priestley, who live in Hillsborough, and they were members of the St. Louis Society. So he arranged for us to get together, and we tossed the idea around. And we said, well, why not? So I went up to New York and met with Jean Kotkin, who at that time was in charge of developing new societies. And she gave me many ideas and was very encouraging. And she said, I'd be more than happy to come down and speak to a group of people. Jean went on to become a leader of the New York Society, a friend to our society, and a friend to me and my family. And we ran an ad in The Spectator, which has since been taken over by The Independent. And if I remember correctly, the ad said, believer, non-believer, atheist, agnostic, all are welcome at the Ethical Culture Society. And we listed the Priestley's home as the site of our first meeting. Well, believe it or not, almost 40 people came to the meeting. We were astounded. And two of the people, Karen Workman and Tom Hazen, had been members, had grown up in the ethical movement and had gone to ethical culture schools in New York. And they went on to, they joined the society, and each subsequently became president. Well, Jean spoke to us, and people were very encouraged. And I remember saying, thanking the people for coming and saying, we'll meet in a month. And someone said, why wait so long? And I said, okay, 2 weeks. So within those 2 weeks, my husband and I scurried around trying to find a place to meet. And we found the community room at the community center, Chapel Hill Community Center on Estes Drive. And the room was fine, but it was next to the basketball court. So we were vying with the sound of the basketballs and the hoops and the hollers of the players. And there was no place for a coffee pot. So we booked again, and John knew someone who had a real estate office on East Franklin Street. And so we met there. The room was very cramped, and there was no place for a coffee pot. Well, someone, and I've since forgotten the name, found the Sienna, and they were more than willing to give us a lovely room off the lobby and an adjacent room for childcare. And the price was right. It was free. The only thing we had to do was pay for the coffee. Well, that sounded reasonable enough. Little did we realize, they set up the coffee in the lobby. Guests of the hotel thought this was a perk of staying at the Sienna. So the coffee wound up costing us a lot more than I could ever afford. So there we were again, looking for a place. But this might be a good segue into a story about ethical culture. There was a town that was being plagued by fires. One week, the Catholic Church was set ablaze, and the priest ran in and rescued the beautiful crucifix from the altar. A few weeks later, there was a synagogue that was torched, and the rabbi, at great personal risks, ran in and took out the sacred Torah. All was quiet for a while, and then it was the ethical culture building that was blazing. The leader ran in and rescued the coffee pot. Well, at that time, the art center was looking to make money, and we were looking for a place to meet. So we arranged an agreement. It was a perfect setup. We had a lovely room. We had an adjacent room for childcare, which later became our Sunday school, and there was a place for a coffee pot. And the best part of being at the Art Center was it enabled us to have a Sunday school, which was the inspiration of one of our members, Spence Layton. And he, along with several other members, Jane Kamen, Jean Dichter, Marianne Hardy, and others, developed a curriculum for the school, and many people in the society volunteered to teach. And Randy's children went there, Chris's daughters went there, and my grandchildren went there. And I remember driving home from a Sunday meeting. My grandchildren, Sarah and Ryan, were sitting in the back of the car. And as brothers and sisters are wont to do, they started kicking each other. And Sarah piped up, "Grandma, Ryan's not being ethical. He's kicking me." I told Sarah, now married, the story last week. And no pun intended, but you got a kick out of that. So, to go back, when we established ourselves, Carol Klein, a member who was in charge of publicity, had an article about us in the local paper. And a few days later, I received a letter. The return address was Church of the Church of the Healing Water in Pittsburgh. And I opened the envelope, and it was a lined sheet of paper torn from a spiral book from the pastor, telling me that if I gave up Satan and gave my soul to Christ, I could be saved. I never realized that North Carolina is called the buckle of the Bible Belt, and this showed me that it was. The other thing about it was people didn't know who we were or what we were, and we received each year an invitation from a food festival to come and set up a booth for our ethnic culture. So we have a lot of work to do. But I say congratulations to those of us like Mary Lockhart and Al Clausen, who were there from the beginning, and to those who followed, like Chris and Randy and Jan and I saw Amy, who brought new ideas and new energy. Congratulations. And to the Balzacs, who transferred their loyalty from the Northern Westchester Society to our society, and whose hospitality and coffee shop and coffee pot are boundless. And I thank you for that. And for people, for a small society, we spawned two leaders, Randy and a lovely young woman, Kate Lovelady, who is now the leader of the St. Louis Society. And for those who are thinking about the society, people like Marge and John have done so much to make us grow. And to all the others whose names I've forgotten or who aren't here, I encourage you to come and grow with us, to help us become a known entity in the community. And this world needs ethics more than ever. And then what other society, for example, has their very own floral designer, like Charmaine and Frank, and our very own musician, where's
Clark.
So I thank you all, and I hope that we grow, that we have a Sunday school again, and that we do make a difference in people's lives and in the community. So happy anniversary, and please come and have a cup of coffee.
University here in the mid to late 1950s, I wound up majoring in Spanish language and literature. And there weren't many Latinos around at that time for me to practice the Spanish with. Now, all I need to do is walk down Roseberry or Franklin Street. I can eavesdrop on conversations. I shouldn't do this, but I have a lot of fun doing it. And it reminds me of a song I'll do out of Mexico. And if you will sing with me, I would appreciate it. And if you can't sing in the Spanish, then hum in Spanish. De la Sierra Morena, cielito lindo vienen bajando. Un par de ojitos negros, cielito lindo de contrabando. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran cielito de todos los corazones. Pájaro que abandona cielito lindo su primer nido. Vuelve lo al ocupado, cielito lindo y muy merecido. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran cielito lindo los corazones. Vamos a ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran cielito lindo los corazones. Singing or humming. Thank you.
History I hadn't heard before, so thank you. This is maybe irrelevant, but your story about the second school reminded me, Spence Layton, who was sort of the founder when we had an active ethical school for children, noted that when you worked with the kids in the classes, that they were able to see all the ethical issues, except they saw no reason why they should be nice to their brothers and sisters. That was the one group of humans in the world that they would not extend their ethics to. So your grandchildren may have been the exception.
What was the format like in the early years? Did you get speakers, or
Yeah.
how often did you meet and all that?
We met every other week and, at 11 o'clock. And we had speakers from the local community and speakers from the society. And what we did on a fairly regular basis was have leaders from other societies speak to us. That was pretty sexual, and that was always inspiring.
Ava.
I think this is a good time for me to thank Ina for starting the culture, because, as a matter of fact, that was one of the reasons why we moved here some 18 years ago.
We met at a Washington meeting.
That's right. We met at a Washington meeting, and we came, and then I met John DeVant, who at that time was very active. So we have found the ethical culture very important in thought and actions. I just hope somehow we have an influence on the community. But I think we probably do, thanks to many good presidents. John, the last one, poor guy, who came, didn't even know there was an ethical culture. His wife found it on the computer. And there he is, and we immediately lassoed him into that. Thank you all.
I think one of our disappointments was that we thought there would be a membership from the universities, and that never came to pass, either the faculty or the students. So that was a big disappointment.
We still are trying to figure out how to make inroads in that community. Stuart.
When did it start becoming once a week rather than twice a month?
When did we switch from once a week, from twice a month to every week?
When did the society start meeting every week instead of every other week?
Oh, that was maybe 10 years ago.
No, it was meeting every week when I joined, but very small discussion groups, 4 or 5 people. And that was, when was that,
94,
94, 95? So I don't know how long it's been.
I think it started a few years before that. I started visiting in 1990, and they had that format of a lecture presentation 1 week followed by a discussion. That's what it evolved into.
Excuse me, what happened originally was when we met on alternate Sundays, the group was very small, and it became very contentious, very political, and we found that that was not what we had in mind. So we tried to expand it to concentrate on the topic of the week before. And incidentally, my apologies to James. He was so instrumental in trying to find his.
He's back there.
Thank you, James, for continuing.
Okay, John?
Well, and I just wanted to thank you for talking today, and I think the whole society owes you a huge debt of gratitude for getting this started, and sometimes you may question the influence that you or the society has on others, but over the years, it's without doubt been certainly hundreds of people, if not thousands. So I'm really pleased that after 25 years, or more than that now, we're still going and still operating.
Thanks.
Randy,
Yes.
I wondered if you, as you've done on other things, if you could send us the history that you put together on the ethical.
Sure. I'll put it on the list. There will be more to it than I read today because I
That's very valuable.
excerpted it. So
Okay, thank you.
I'll be happy to